Hey Renee, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for asking, Annette. How are you?
I'm doing good. You wanted to talk about a subject about being believed, and since it's your topic, I'm going to throw the ball your way and go ahead and start it off.
Yes. So I bugged you about this week because I realized, thinking back on both of our stories, um, that my first person I told believed me about my abuse story. And from that, it stopped. It changed the trajectory of my life. But I realized that that's not your story. And that's many people who are listening to us, that's not their story either. And I thought, I'd bug you about it to just kind of talk about how do we help someone who hasn't been believed the first round. What do they do? So that's why I'm bringing it up today. I just wanted to bug you about that.
Okay. Well, for me, I think everybody's situation is going to be unique and different. Um,
Yes.
I went ahead and told somebody when I was really little, but I wasn't believed. And then at 16, I was tortured sexually, and this was a whole other different person in authority. And I went ahead and told, and I wasn't believed again. And I was very hurt and physically, as well as I think more emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
mentally over the whole situation. And I was just incredibly mad and depressed. And it just so happened that I had to go to school the following week, which was only like 3 days later. And that's when I ran into then my husband, John, who was a guy who just kept asking if I'd go to Christian concerts with him, would I go to church with him, would I go here with him, and that. And every single time he saw me, he was like, hello, how you doing? Isn't this a great day that God made? Look at the sky, how beautiful it is. And all the time he would be just so happy-go-lucky. I was angry inside. I was just ready to bite somebody's head off. And he always just came up to me constantly. And I remember one day he came up and he goes, hey Annette, how are you doing? This is the day the Lord has made, and we should be happy. And I stopped him there. And that's right. I was really mad. And unfortunately, I did bite his head off. And I was so angry that I said, you don't understand. Bad things happen on these beautiful, wonderful days that God has made. And in that process of yelling at him, because I was yelling at him, and he was like, type
Mm-hmm.
thing, I it just came out of me what happened a short while ago with this person that abused me. And when I finished telling him a generic form of it, I said, and nobody believes me, and no one's doing a darn thing. And that's why it's not a great day. And he didn't have anything to, he went silent. He looked
Wow.
to me like this person who just didn't have any words anymore. And I felt satisfied that I crushed the happiness that was inside of him. I'm serious. I was mad.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying it was a good thing, okay? I'm saying it was a bad thing. And I said, see, you have nothing to say either. And I just walked away. I
Mm-hmm.
was so mad and angry. And this was only the second person I had even told that something happened like that, about that one situation with the person who was in charge. And he came after me. I was almost to the parking lot. He caught up to me, I would say, I don't know, a football field. I guess he had to think for a minute, what the heck did he just hear?
Yeah. And process.
He was
Yeah.
processing, and he said, wait a minute, wait a minute. And he dared to touch my shoulder and turn me around. Well, that I was just angry. That just even made me more angry.
Mm.
What do you want? And I was ready to go second round, rip into him. And he said, you got to tell somebody.
Mm.
We got to make sure this is taken care of. That it doesn't happen to anybody else. This is horrible. And it was the first time I heard somebody say, this is horrible. We got to tell somebody else about this in authority. And I'm thinking, you don't know anything. You're so lost. You don't understand how things work. And he proceeded to say, well, I said, look, my mom doesn't even believe me. And he said, I'm willing, let me go talk with your mom. And it was like, go ahead. I don't care. Because I already knew what the answers were and everything. And so the next thing I know, he's following me home from school. And this is in high school, and he's following me home in his car, whatever. I'm not going to get in it because I'm mad at him. He was a person to be mad at when I was angry with the world. And he just happened to be the person that volunteered to be victim to my anger, unfortunately, because I was so hurt, and hurt people are really true. So anyways, we got to my house, got there, introduced John to my mother. She said hello. And I said, you guys could talk if you want. He's a Christian. You're going to really like him. Well, my mom said, oh, really? And I could tell she was all up for the conversation. And so I left the room. And then, of course, I shut the door, but I could hear on the other side of the door because there's a heater vent there. And in those old houses, you can hear the other conversation on the other side of the door. Absolutely. I wasn't going to just leave him in there to talk to my mom. So, I tried to act all cool, but I wasn't. And anyways, I'm listening to the conversation, and he goes right to the point. He said, do you realize this happened to your daughter? And my mom proceeded to say, it's not the truth. My daughter has a lot of issues, and so on. And I'm thinking, yeah, here it goes again. Here it goes again. And he said, well, do you mind if I call this leader up on the phone? Oh my goodness, my mom was kind of thrown. You got two phones, you get on the other extension and I'll call. And so he did. And so now I knew they were getting up, so I moved myself to the other heater location and everything, so I could be in the right place. And as I'm starting to listen to the phone call, because my mom said, I'll dial, and then you just pick up the receiver and I'll introduce you to this person. I'm like, this is stupid. Why am I wasting my time? So I went off to my bedroom, and I just felt crummy. I felt like somebody else knew of this most embarrassing moment that happened in my life. And why did I even tell somebody? Why was I putting myself through this? And a thought came to me out of the blue. And it was like, God, do you love me? John's always telling me, isn't this a wonderful day that God made? God loves all of us. Isn't that amazing? And if you really love me, can you have this leader admit what he did to me? Because there's no way he would. He'd be arrested. So many things would go wrong. He'd lose his job. He had a family, all these things. There's no way in the world this person would admit what he did with me. But I asked God, you love me. Can you please this time have him tell the truth? Have the person tell the truth so people can believe me. That was it. It was a simple prayer that was tossed off with, yeah, I know you love me, but you just don't love me as much as everybody else. So I still hear people on the phone. I open my bedroom door and I see that my mom has taken off. She had already hung up the phone. John was still on the phone, but my mom had taken off, gone down the hall, and she wasn't on the phone anymore. John finished the phone call up, hung up. I heard my mom and saw her walk up to John saying, please don't tell anybody. And then I went into the living room, and I went in there, and John followed me in there, and he goes, he told the truth. And my mom walked in the room and said, Annette, I don't want you telling anybody. I don't want to ever talk about this again. And then she left the room. And for that moment, even though there was so much more I could be thinking, all I could think of was, God loved me just as much as he loves you, Renee, just as much as he loved John, just as much as he loved anybody. And it was huge to me. Now, I can't say that if you ask God to do something, he's going to do that in that way for you. He did it for me. And for me in that moment, it meant so much because I felt so betrayed by leadership, by people not believing me. And that was the start of, yes, I had to start walking that tough road that you had talked about in the video before, of the healing for what had happened to me. But being believed was huge. It was huge for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a story about me being believed the last time. Yeah.
Mm. Thank God he didn't take your anger and walk away with it,
Yeah,
but he stayed
John could have done a lot of good
processed
things.
it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And God didn't have to have it come out that
Now
way.
you're.
He didn't have to have it come out that way.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
but it did affect me for so many years. Um, gosh, I would say maybe it still affects me to this day. I don't know. But the fact of being believed, so if I go and tell you something, then I know that you believe it, if that makes sense. It's hard to have trust in people when they say you believe you, but then they don't. So
right.
it broke a trust between people I thought I could trust, but then couldn't. So it takes a while to get a relationship where I feel like we're trusting each other, we're believing each other, that type of thing. And it probably comes more easily for other people because um, they haven't had that moment of not being believed so many times in their life when certain things have happened. Yeah.
Mm. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story, because I think just that piece of your story taught a lot of lessons in it. To not give up, that there is going to be anger that comes with it, that there are people that will believe if you do, if you do find them, they're gold. Those are the golden people that they will go, they'll fight for you. They'll come alongside you and walk it with you. And I'm grateful that John did that for you. I'm sorry it took so long until that person, though. That's the part that I hate. Took that long. Hmm.
Well, for others, if they don't have somebody believing them, that type of thing, the biggest thing is I would encourage them to keep looking for somebody to tell who will believe.
Yes.
Um, it was important for me to go to the authorities. I was encouraged greatly not to go to the authorities. I was a minor, and that was something that wasn't settled until I was 19. And I finally didn't live in my home anymore. And I went to the authorities with the story, as well as the leadership's organization, going to them as well, because it was kept quiet and was never addressed within the organization of what happened. And the person was never taken out of position, nothing.
Hmm.
And my concern was it could happen to another person.
Right.
And I didn't want somebody else going through that hell. So, yeah.
Yep. That
But
was
to keep
wise.
trying.
Good job. Amen. So, any last thoughts for those that are hearing this that you would add?
Um, Even if they can't find somebody close to them to tell, feel brave enough to go to the police. If you're needing help with that, there's so many numbers you can Google online, the rape hotline, or different organizations that maybe somebody will go with you to the police station, go with you to the organizations, if it happened in an organization type thing, to go and talk with those officials so the person isn't left still working with youth, that type of deal. So, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
be
Things
quiet. The
pull
biggest
others that are
problem was being
vulnerable.
quiet.
Yes. Yes. Needs to be told. Told until you're believed. I think that's going to be a statement that we'll probably continue. Tell until you're believed.
Tell until somebody will listen to you and actually do something and encourage you to not only get help, but tell those in authority so this won't be potentially happening to another person, because you usually are not the only one that, a
Correct.
situation has happened with. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree. And if you're the first, you're not the last.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Annette. Thank you for opening up vulnerable that way and just sharing and giving hope. And I'm grateful that you also spoke of God in this. Where was God in it, and how He had answered you, and also the warning of there's certain prayers that He does, other prayers that He may not in the same way.
Yeah.
But you reached out and you got hope, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
No, you're welcome. All right. Take care.
Too.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye.